Most buyers go into a purchase focused on only one number, their monthly mortgage payment. And if you're not prepared for the rest of the story, it can be a really stressful and expensive surprise. So let's walk through it together. I'm going to cover closing cost, Georgia-specific requirements, prepaid expenses, and ongoing expenses that new homeowners often underestimate. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what you need to budget for and nothing will catch you off guard. All right, section number 1. The first thing that surprises many out-of-state buyers and even some Georgia buyers who don't know is this: Georgia is an attorney closing state. That means Georgia law requires a licensed attorney to conduct every real estate closing. Not a title company, not an escrow agent, but an attorney. This is actually a buyer protection because it means that a licensed legal professional is reviewing every single document and dispersing every single dollar that's involved in your transaction. But that does come at a cost. Attorney closing fees in Georgia typically run from about $750 to $1,250 for the most standard residential transactions. Now, that's a line item that you need to budget for, and it's one that buyers coming in from states like Florida or Tennessee, where title companies handle closings, sometimes those buyers don't expect it. Next up, let's talk about the full closing cost pictures for buyers here in Georgia. Georgia buyer closing costs typically run between 2 and 5% of the purchase price. So on a $500,000 home, that means you're looking at roughly $10,000 to $25,000 in closing costs. Now that's on top of your down payment money. That range is pretty wide because it depends on your loan type, your lender requirements, the county that you're buying in, and what you negotiate with the seller. Let me break down the main components so you know exactly where your dollars are going. First up is loan origination fees. This is what your lender is going to charge to process and underwrite your mortgage. Typically, it's from 0.5% to 1% of the loan amount. Appraisal. Your lender will require an independent appraisal to verify the value of the home that they're lending on. In Northwest Georgia and North Atlanta markets, expect to pay anywhere from about $500 to about $1,000. Some higher end properties do run more than that. Home inspection. Now, this is not required by your lender, but it is absolutely good common sense. A thorough home inspection in this market typically runs between $300 and $800, depending on the size of the home. In Georgia's humid climate, I also recommend that you get a separate termite and pest inspection. Budget another $75 to $200 for that. Title insurance. Now there's 2 different types of title insurance. Your lender will require a lender's title insurance policy. This policy protects their interest in your property. You'll also want to consider an owner's title policy. This protects your equity in a title dispute should it ever arise. Owner's title insurance is not required in Georgia, but for the price, typically a few hundred to a few thousand, depending on the purchase price of the home, I think it's absolutely worth it. Next up is Georgia's intangible recording tax. This one surprises a lot of buyers. Georgia charges a tax on new mortgages called the intangible recording tax. It's going to cost you $1.50 per $500 of the loan amount, which works out to about 0.3% of your loan amount. So on a $360,000 loan, for example, that's about $1,080. It's not an enormous amount, but still, it's a real expense that belongs in your budget. Next up is recording fees. These are what the county clerk charges to officially record your deed and mortgage in the public records. Now this varies by county, but typically it's fairly modest. Usually it's less than $100. Now let's talk about the category that catches more buyers off guard than almost anything else. That is the prepaid expenses. Prepaids are not closing costs in the traditional sense. They're not fees for services. Instead, they are the initial expenses that are being funded into your escrow account, plus your first year of homeowner's insurance policy premium that is paid up front, hence prepaid. Your lender is typically going to require you to pre-fund your escrow account with 2 to 3 months of property taxes and your homeowner's insurance at closing. Why? Because they want to make sure that those accounts are sufficiently funded from day one. In Bartow County, the effective property tax rate is roughly 0.8% to 1% of the home's assessed value every year. In Cherokee County, it's fairly similar. So on a $500,000 home, you might be looking at $4,000 to $5,000 per year of property taxes. And your lender may ask you to put 2 to 3 months of that amount pre-funded at closing time. So that means you need to plan to bring in an extra $600 to $1,250 on closing day. Add in your first year of your homeowner's insurance, which is typically $1,200 to $2,000 per year in Northwest Georgia, depending on the home's value and your coverage. Prepaids alone can add another $2,500 to $5,000 or more to the total cash that you need at closing. This is the number that makes buyers' eyes go wide. Your lender gives you a loan estimate that shows all of this information, but it's a lot of numbers written on a page, and it is easy to miss the full picture until you're a few weeks from your closing. Section number 4, if you're buying in a community with an HOA, homeowners association, there are 2 additional items that you need to be aware of. First up is the HOA transfer fee. When ownership changes hands, the HOA typically charges a fee to transfer records and update their systems. And so basically you're paying for their admin work. Now this can run anywhere from $100 to $500 or more depending on the association. Secondly, this one matters more long-term. Dues are ongoing costs that affect your monthly housing expense, but they're not reflected in your mortgage payment. Before you make an offer on any HOA home, know exactly what the dues are and what they cover, and always request the HOA's financials and reserve fund balance. A financially healthy HOA is a very important thing to verify before closing. Section number 5, here's something I tell every buyer that I meet with: budget a first year surplus fund. Even on a home that passes the inspection with flying colors, you will spend money in your first 12 months of ownership that you weren't fully anticipating. Maybe it's a new lawnmower, touch-up paint from moving where you dented the wall, maybe a minor plumbing issue that passed the inspection but was flagged as a low priority but becomes your first weekend project. Lots of different things. A reasonable first year surprise fund for most buyers, move-up buyers in the $500 to $750 range, is generally somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000. This is not to be alarmist, just to be reality-based budgeting. And buyers who plan for it are less stressed than those who don't. Now look, I know that this was a lot of details, a lot of information, a lot of numbers. And honestly, that's exactly the point. Buying a home in Georgia is one of the largest financial decisions you will ever make, and you deserve to go into it with your eyes completely open. If you're thinking about buying a home in Bartow County, Cherokee County, Milton, Alpharetta, Northwest Georgia, or North Atlanta, I would love to sit down with you for a free buyer consultation and help you walk through all the specific details for your budget and your situation. There's no pressure, no obligation, no sales pitch. Just a straight conversation about what to expect when you buy a home. The link to book a consultation is down in the description of this video, or you can text me at the number right up here. If you find this video to be helpful, please share it. People just like you in all budget ranges reach out to me every week about buying and selling property in Northwest Georgia, and I would love to help you and your friends. So please subscribe if you haven't done so already, so that you don't miss any of my videos. I produce 2 to 3 videos per week covering topics like market reports, property tours of new listings, as well as helpful tips for buyers and sellers. And I would love to see you on the next video.